There was a time when Nokia wasn't just the biggest phone company in the world, it was the phone company. If you owned a mobile phone in the early 2000s, chances are it had the Nokia logo on it. Their devices were everywhere. They were durable, reliable, and trusted by hundreds of millions of people. At one point, nearly half of all smartphones sold around the world came from Nokia. It seemed impossible that anyone could challenge them, but within just a few years, everything changed. The company that once dominated the mobile industry lost its crown, its customers, and eventually its entire phone business. So how did one of the greatest technology companies in history fall so quickly? To understand what happened, we have to go back long before smartphones existed. Nokia wasn't founded as a technology company. In fact, when it was established in Finland in 1865, it was a paper mill. Over the following decades, the company expanded into rubber products, electrical cables, and industrial manufacturing. It wasn't until the late 20th century that Nokia made one of the most important decisions in its history. It shifted its focus toward telecommunications. That decision would change everything. During the 1990s, mobile phones were beginning to transform the way people communicated. While many companies were competing in the market, Nokia moved faster than almost everyone else. They focused on making phones that were simple to use, dependable, and affordable. Consumers loved them. By the end of the decade, Nokia had become the world's largest mobile phone manufacturer. Their devices became famous for incredible battery life, strong signal reception, and legendary durability. Some people joked that a Nokia phone could survive being dropped from a building and still work perfectly. One model became especially iconic, the Nokia 3310. Released in the year 2000, it became one of the best-selling phones ever made. Millions of people remember playing Snake, customizing ringtones, and sending text messages on its small monochrome screen. For many people, that phone was their first mobile device. As Nokia's popularity grew, so did its influence. By the early 2000s, the company was generating billions of dollars in revenue every year. Its brand became one of the most recognized names on earth. Investors were confident. Competitors struggled to keep up. Nokia appeared unstoppable. Inside the company, there was a growing belief that they had already figured out the future of mobile technology. But history has a way of rewarding companies that keep questioning themselves and punishing those that become too comfortable. Everything changed on January 9, 2007. Standing on a stage in San Francisco, Steve Jobs introduced a product that many people dismissed at first. It was called the iPhone. Compared to the phones available at the time, it looked almost strange. There was no physical keyboard. The screen covered nearly the entire front of the device. It relied on touch instead of buttons. Many executives in the mobile industry believed it would fail. Nokia was among them. Inside the company, many believed consumers would always prefer physical keyboards, removable batteries, and familiar designs. They didn't see the iPhone as a serious threat. They saw it as an expensive experiment, but they underestimated what Apple was really selling. It wasn't just a phone, it was a pocket computer. The iPhone completely changed what people expected from mobile devices. Browsing the internet suddenly felt natural. Watching videos became enjoyable. Apps opened the door to entirely new experiences. Then, just 1 year later, another competitor entered the market. Google launched Android. Unlike Apple's software, Android wasn't limited to one manufacturer. Companies around the world could use it to build smartphones of their own. Samsung quickly embraced the opportunity. So did HTC, Motorola, LG, and many others. Suddenly, innovation accelerated at an incredible pace. While competitors were racing forward, Nokia found itself trapped by its own success. Its software platform, Symbian, had been designed for an earlier generation of phones. As smartphones became more advanced, Symbian became increasingly difficult to improve. Developers complained that creating apps was complicated. Consumers found the experience outdated compared to the sleek interfaces offered by Apple and Android devices. Inside Nokia, different teams disagreed about the company's future. Projects competed with one another. Important decisions were delayed. Bureaucracy slowed innovation. Meanwhile, competitors kept moving. Every year, smartphones became faster, smarter, and easier to use. Every year, Nokia lost more customers. The numbers became impossible to ignore. Market share fell. Profits declined. Confidence disappeared. The company that had once defined the mobile industry was now struggling to keep up with it. In 2010, Nokia appointed a new CEO named Stephen Alop. Shortly after taking over, he sent employees a memo that would become famous around the world. He compared Nokia to a man standing on a burning oil platform. The company, he argued, could no longer continue as it had. It had to make a dramatic leap to survive. Instead of adopting Android like many expected, Nokia partnered with Microsoft. Together, they bet everything on Windows Phone. The partnership was ambitious, but it faced enormous challenges. Developers were already focused on building apps for iPhone and Android. Consumers wanted access to those growing app stores. Even though Nokia continued making beautifully designed hardware, the software ecosystem never caught up. Sales continued falling. In 2013, Nokia made a decision that shocked the technology world. It agreed to sell its mobile phone business to Microsoft for more than $7 billion. For millions of people, it felt like the end of an era. The company that had once ruled the mobile industry no longer controlled its own phones. Ironically, Microsoft's own smartphone ambitions would eventually fail as well, bringing the Nokia chapter to a quiet close. So why did Nokia lose everything? It wasn't because the company lacked talented engineers. It wasn't because people stopped trusting the brand. And it certainly wasn't because mobile phones became less important. Nokia failed because it underestimated how quickly technology and consumer expectations could change. It defended the products that had made it successful instead of building the products that would define the future. History has repeated this lesson again and again. The companies that dominate one generation often assume they'll dominate the next. But innovation doesn't reward the biggest company. It rewards the company that's willing to reinvent itself before someone else does. Today, Nokia still exists, focusing on telecommunications, infrastructure, and networking technology. The name lives on, but its days as the king of mobile phones are part of history. The rise and fall of Nokia is more than a business story. It's a reminder that no company is too big to fail, no market leader is guaranteed tomorrow, and no success lasts forever without constant innovation. Sometimes the greatest threat to a company isn't its competitors. It's believing that tomorrow will look exactly like today. This has been Mayer's Archives. Because every world-changing story has a beginning,